love or hate Baker Mayfield, you have to admit that the guy's pretty transparent. I mean, whether he's telling the entire Kansas football team to stimulate him orally or if he's asserting his dominance over a defeated foe in spectacularly petty ways like this. And like this.
No, he's not going to plant it in the midfield of the O, is he? Wow. Yes, he is.
There isn't much that gets left unsaid when it comes to Baker Mayfield. And this was on display no better than when the Browns played the Bengals in Cincinnati last week. Baker isn't like a lot of other people or like a lot of other athletes. He ain't about those subliminals. Baker ain't shy about it. He'll come out and say it. And if he don't like you, he's gonna let it be known. And last week, the disrespect for Hue Jackson by the Browns was so real. I mean, there was disrespect before the game. There was disrespect during the game. There was disrespect after the game. On social media, in interviews. I mean, it was so much Hue Jackson disrespect. I almost felt bad. But then I remember the 12 interviews he did on TV like 2 minutes after he got fired. And I remember the fact that he still referred to himself in the third person.
I don't think that was the number one reason why Hue Jackson's not sitting there.
Yeah, you know what? I'm here for it. Never mind. But for whatever reason, we're not here to talk about Baker Mayfield's play. I mean, he had 4 touchdowns, 265 yards, 2 back-to-back weeks of plus 70% completion rates. I mean, if you look at his number compared to the rest of the rookie quarterbacks, there is no comparison. He is much better. But we're not here to talk about that. No. We're here to talk about Baker Mayfield's quote-unquote antics, because the national media tends to do this thing when somebody steps out of the norm of what they're supposed to be and what the archetype for whatever they do is supposed to be, and they push back against it for whatever reason, and they tell that person they're wrong for acting like that when that's just who they are. Which is ironic because a lot of people who are in sports media who do these national shows are the same people who go on and have their hot takes. And when the Browns were doing real bad, clowned Hue Jackson, made fun of the Browns organization, made fun of the Browns fans, made fun of the city of Cleveland. But when a player does it, when a quarterback does it, boy, does it become a big deal. But when they do it on a regular basis, day in and day out, for a living, no problem. But the second a player decides that they're going to have their opinions heard, that they're not going to hide how they feel, then they got something to say. And isn't that just funny? Now, what I have found in these clips as a constant whenever they're talking about it is kind of a misunderstanding, in my opinion. And this is my opinion, of course. I'm not going to try to pass it off as fact. But in my opinion, a misunderstanding of why Baker Mayfield was so upset with what Hue Jackson did in the first place. Because I see a lot of people saying, well, it's the league. Hue Jackson's allowed to take another job. And that's completely fine. Hue Jackson struggled, don't even begin to cover it. Hue Jackson was a terrible head coach. You know, and if somebody wants to hire him and fill him in on an open position, then yeah, that's fine, whatever. But what Baker Mayfield's upset about isn't that he just left and went to Cincinnati. It's the outright thirst that Hue Jackson showed throughout everything when he got fired. You know, it's the TV show appearances on top of the jumping to Cincinnati so quick after being fired. And by the way, everybody wants to go on this whole tangent about the league is the league and Baker needs to grow up and this happens all the time. Name me the one head coach in NFL history that's been fired in the middle of the year and joined a division rival's coaching staff. Name me that guy. because everybody wants to act like the league is the league and what happened is normal. What happened is extremely abnormal. Because let's not act like Hue Jackson was just the offensive coordinator or the linebackers coach. This dude was the head coach of the football team. And he was standing 3 weeks ago, standing in front of his team, asking them to make sacrifices, asking them to put their bodies on the line to win games to help him keep his job. And now 3 weeks later, you're at a division rival that we played 2 times in the last 8 weeks, giving them secrets, game planning against us. You're damn right I would take that personal. And a lot of people who are complaining and bitching and moaning about what Baker Mayfield had to say would take it personal too. Nobody wants to look at Hue like that. And it's probably because of the same people who had Hue Jackson on their shows. Now let's start to actually break down this criticism. And we're going to start with a clip from somebody who, if you're a Browns fan, you should be very familiar with this guy. The one and only Man Genius, who is now man who backup guest host shows on FS1 sometimes.
I just maybe it's a young guy who needs to learn how to be a little bit more gracious in winning. I just think at the end of the day, when you have a chance in victory to be gracious, it's never
generous.
It's never a bad thing, and people aren't going to look at you and say, "Wow, I wonder why you did that. I wonder why."
And that's something that we learn.
I just want to say this: the sportsmanship aspect in professional sports is the most ludicrous and overrated aspect and take of all time. I am so tired of hearing grown men cry about people not being sportsmanlike. And you know what? The aspect of trash talk in football is weird because it's frowned upon in football, where it's held in other sports like basketball. Look at the man who was the face of the NBA during their explosion, Michael Jordan, notorious trash talker. But when it comes to football, the people who talk about that sport want me to believe that in order for you to be the face of a franchise or the quarterback, you need to act in this graceful, boring, robotic way like Russell Wilson. But Michael Jordan was the face of an entire league, and he wasn't robotic. And if you even want to bring it to football, Steve Smith was the face of the Panthers for years. You want to tell me that dude fits the description of the safe face of the franchise guy? That dude fits the description of the magnanimous winner? Honestly, I don't understand what y'all want him to do. Do you want him to be fake? Do you want him to be subliminal? Do you want him to subtweet? Do you want him to create a burner account so he can tweet from a separate account, hiding behind a little Twitter wall, and release his feelings that way? Or do you want him to come out and say it and let it be known that I'm Baker Mayfield, this is how I feel, and that's it? What sounds more mature to you? And now, since we want to talk about maturity and professionalism, you want to bring up Hue Jackson going on the media tour 5 minutes after being fired? You want to bring up Hue Jackson being so thirsty to join the Cincinnati Bengals coaching staff that they had to make up a job title to give him? This wasn't an open job that they just happened to fill with Hue. They created it. What the hell is a special assistant to the head coach? Like, come on. They made that title up. That job didn't exist. Don't buy this narrative that Hue Jackson would have had a hard time finding a job in the NFL. Somebody somewhere would have gave him a second shot. If an organization like the New York Giants hires Pat Shurmur to be their head coach after what he did in Cleveland, Hue Jackson ain't gonna have no problem finding a job somewhere. Like, don't kid yourself into that argument that that's why Hue had to be thirsty. That ain't it. And also, let's not forget the subliminals that Hue Jackson was throwing all week, talking about something. It's good to be in a building that you trust. Hue, it was your building, dog. What do you mean? You hired everybody that you couldn't trust. That's your fault. What are you talking? I can't deal with this man. But again, nobody wants to point out what Hue Jackson did. It's all about Baker Mayfield because Baker Mayfield is the actual person who's good at his job in this conversation. But I just can't understand the aspect that you felt like Baker Mayfield should show respect to somebody he clearly doesn't respect. I think having the guts to do that, even though you know there's going to be backlash, and stick by what you feel and how you feel, that's more mature than hiding it.
Baker Mayfield needs to grow up. This is pro football. You're dealing with grown men. Things happen in pro football. People get fired, go to other players get cut. They go to rivals. It happens all the time. Coach get fired. He decides to pick up a job, available job that Marvin Lewis obviously reached out to him about. Like I said, Max, you talked about Baker Mayfield. He's balling these last couple weeks or whatever. But this whole comment just shows how immature he is. He needs to grow up.
Well, let me say this.
Again, the league is the league. I get it. The people move jobs and all that. That's not the problem here, okay? The problem isn't that. The problem is that Hue Jackson could have waited to the end of the season. And again, people are saying, well, Marvin Lewis might get fired. Okay, well, if there's one thing we know about Cincinnati, Marvin Lewis ain't going nowhere. And the fact is, if he would have joined in the offseason, let things simmer down, let the season play out, let people kind of forget how badly it ended in Cleveland, and he resurfaces in Cincinnati, everything would have been fine. But no, Hue Jackson wanted to be thirsty and hop on that Cincinnati train before they even had a spot. They had to pull up a chair for the boy. And you know what? That's why Demarius Randall handed his thirsty ass the ball. He said thank you for the ball, by the way. Oh my goodness, dude's toned up. This isn't about business. Baker understands the business. Todd Haley came from Pittsburgh to coach the Browns. Baker understands business. This isn't about business. This is about thirstiness from a guy who was supposed to be leading the team 3 weeks ago, and a guy that Baker Mayfield felt like he couldn't respect. So let's not act like Baker Mayfield's just upset here for no reason, that he's just being immature and that he doesn't realize how the business works. He's upset for a reason.
Well, did he play a struggling Atlanta Falcons defense? Yes. Did he play a struggling Cincinnati Bengals defense? Yes. That barely pressured them all. Did David Njoku get carried 3 yards into the end zone? Did Nick Chubb catch a ball over some guy's head? That's going to happen all the time. Did he get the ball on the 10-yard line and throw a 10-yard completion to Darren Fells, who was wide open? Yes. I mean, yeah, he's a star.
Eric Mangini. I'm just going to say it. You sound like a hater. Maybe even a little bitter, like, damn, bro. Baker Mayfield is confrontational. He's going to say what he feels like he needs to say, and he's going to let it be known how he feels. And I don't think that means he's immature. I think immaturity is trying to be something you're not. And maturity is more about being yourself, being comfortable with who you are, and learning how to operate with who you are, which Baker has done. My question to people who think what Baker Mayfield's doing is immature: did you think Michael Jordan was immature? Do you think Kobe Bryant's immature? These are people that we laud for their greatness, laud for their pettiness, and put on a pedestal. Was Brett Favre immature? For a football comparison. Did the same thing. These are all three people who, when they had somebody they didn't like, or they felt like they didn't need to respect somebody, would let the media know exactly how they felt and what they felt about the situation. And you know what? The tag that we've given those guys are alpha dogs. So my question is, how long until the media starts calling Baker Mayfield an alpha dog? Because that's just what he is. That's what he was at Oklahoma. That's what he was at Texas Tech when he won the job as a true freshman. A walk-on true freshman. First one to ever do it. Because no matter which way you want to spin it, chop it, stir it, Baker Mayfield's a competitor. Baker Mayfield is an alpha dog. Baker Mayfield's exactly the leader, the mature leader that this team needs. And that's going to be it for this week's episode of Worst Take. First things first, I have to acknowledge the great job you guys did hitting that subscribe button. We are over 1,000 subscribers. This is crazy to me. It's just been a couple weeks since I posted the first video. The response has been amazing. I am so happy and excited. And for guys that don't know, I've been on the YouTube platform on various different channels trying to get something going in different forms since I was like 13, man, like for 10 years. And to finally hit that 1,000 subscriber number after this time, it just means so much to me. So thank you guys for supporting. Thank you guys for commenting. Thank you guys for sharing and liking the video and hitting that notification button, because we are really making something happen here, and I'm really excited about it. And again, I just want to thank everybody for their support. And also in the comment section, tell me if I'm tripping. Maybe I'm being too defensive of Baker Mayfield. Should he be more humble? Should he be more professional? I would love to hear your opinions in the contrary. Or if you agree with me, tell me why you agree. I really look forward to what you guys have to say about this one. Again, guys, thank you for watching. And I just want to tell you that Hue Jackson's thirsty, and Damian Woody and Eric Mangini are full of shit. Have a good day.